What about Bobby Ongpin? What role did he play during the martial law years and then after?
Well, at the time when we had a financial crisis, and apparently because of the dollar exchange problem,
Yes.
that there were some Chinese traders who were controlling. They were the instead of central bank setting the dollar to peso rate, it was this Chinese. And Minister Ongpin proposed that we should control that the Philippine government would control that, and he headed an operation to talk to the Chinese traders, the big Chinese traders. I think 6 or 8 of them, I forgot the number. My father's role there was, Bobby Ongpin requested for security to make sure that since there are transactions, and also it involved 8 powerful Chinese traders, and so NISA, I believe, put up a task force Luntian, and so they oversee that one. It's funny that in Bobby Ongpin's revelation, that my father was out to kill him.
Correct.
But a year ago, I believe, he made this declaration in court.
Yes.
That exonerating the role of the NISA Task Force Luntian, that they really just supported the trading. And in fact, in that article, he said, my father did not know anything about trading, which is probably true. And now he says he is out to kill him.
Yes.
But then he contradicts what I feel was a contradiction, is that at one point he felt not safe, so he drove from his house
Yes.
on his own and went to Malacanang and talked to the president.
Right.
Now, Malacanang is protected with concentric layers of perimeter security. You have the mobile security, the TRAFCON, and all that. Before he could have crossed Jones Bridge, he would have been accosted, or his car would have been cited. And if my father were out to kill him, he could have been stopped there. He was on his own.
Oh, I
Then the second layer would be the Philippine Marine checkpoints.
see. Yes.
They always report who is in there. My father would have known, we could have stopped them. Then into the gate. Those are the gates. That's the third layer. We call them concentric circles of protection. And then, before you even go up the stairs of Malacanang, you have to contend with the guard. And then you have the close-in security of the president. All of those are under my father. He could have been stopped. He was not. He was not. So
you're saying it's not true.
it's not true.
Okay. There are 2 other points. This is the kidney transplant of former President Marcos.
Right.
What did you know about that time period? This was right before Ninoy Aquino came back, right? So this was in 1983.
Yeah, but maybe we can say that the return of Ninoy Aquino was prompted by that transplant.
Explain that for people who
That,
don't know.
that perhaps he had knowledge of when the transplant occurred,
Yes.
and that he probably would want to be here in case President Marcos did not survive, and then there will be, of course, the struggle for successor of Marcos, and it would be better for somebody to be here on site rather than it might be too late if I had to travel from abroad.
Right.
There were American doctors, so it could easily be monitored.
Yes, that's
I mean,
correct.
the operation.
Ninoy Aquino
Yes.
said this. I
Right.
read this in one of the books.
Yeah.
You talked. There was a succession plan. Was there a succession plan?
There was a succession plan, and my father showed that to me when he was making the case that I should get Minister really as my ninong. And he showed to me that it was Minister Birata would be the head of a 7-man committee. And the second one, number 1 would be Minister Birata, number 2 would be Minister Enrile, and then there were other ministers below, and Chief of Staff at the end there. I think they were, I'm trying to recall, I thought there was from the private sector there. Yes.
My last question really is the Marcoses today. I mean, Marcos is back Actually, the Marcoses are back in power.
Right.
What do you think of them? How do you remember them? What's your reaction to the fact that they're back in office?
Yes. The Marcos name is pretty much blooming in the Ilocos. Governor Jaime Marcos is to be doing well.
Yes.
Yes. And Senator Bongbong Marcos, I think he's, he used to be governor and then rose. And of course, the Ilocano nation have high hopes for him. It's not because they grabbed power.
Yes.
I mean, they were elected.
Correct.
And the story is, they are still kuripot, like their father, that they would not distribute money. Instead, they do house-to-house campaign. And that's how they get their votes. And of course, you don't have to give money to the Ilocos when you say, I'm a Marcos. Yeah.
Do you think your father made any mistakes?
My father?
Yes.
Mistakes? Well, I don't know. If we talk about the not being able to contain the coup of 1986, yes, there were military mistakes. He could have been more forceful in neutralizing, because I reported to him when I discovered it as early as December, and we did not. What else? But I can only think in military terms. Yes.
Lessons of EDSA. 27 years later, there are reporters who weren't even born in
Yes.
1986. For our nation, well, for you and your family, obviously there are lessons. But then from there, what do you want? What should EDSA stand for?
Funny that you asked me that question after I read F. Chenil Jose's column today, where it said there's still political convenience, hypocrisy, opportunism, and we've developed into a moral society. I'd like to think that the peaceful revolution, the people power that changed the government, at least brought some promise of hope for change. But as I say that, I would like to quickly add that peaceful revolution, now 27 years
Correct.
after, and many countries have their own revolutions.
Sparked by the Philippines.
Right.
Yes.
And some of them not as peaceful.
Not at all.
And I hope people will be open-minded enough that peaceful revolution happened because Marcos did not fight back, that he refused that for his soldiers to fire back. And that, to me, is his legacy.
Fascinating. I would just want to end again with some of the accounts of history now. Enrile's very long book, the Onin Account. Onin talks about 5 conditions for Marcos
Right.
to leave.
I read parts of it. I was not aware of that. But one of them that struck me was for General Ver to be taken out.
Correct.
Yes, right. And this is true, I think.
Yes.
Well, my father learned about this.
Yes.
And in fact, that's why I said before the American helicopters came, my father called up Minister Enrile and asked, okay, and apparently he was told that they would like to talk to him.
I see.
And my father said, it should be in a neutral venue. And Hong Kong was the neutral venue. And I said, let's go. And we didn't, because then EDSA came. So if there was an animosity or there was something, my father still trusted Minister Enrile enough for him to ask him that. Why?
Have you seen Enrile?
No, I have not. But he's still my ninong. I'd like to think that whatever inconsistencies in his book, which I guess you did, most of the media seems to have pointed out, I'd like to think it's more a, should I say, mistaken memory or a lapse in memory, my recollection is certainly different from what he had written.
Any last words? Irwin, this is really this is a lot. This is the most you've said on this publicly. How do you want the Filipinos to move forward? And
Oh, I don't think I'm big enough a person to say that, but if there's a last thing that I would like to say is that certainly I hope people will judge my father differently. He's been demonized, and get some sources. It seems like these things are repeated in the press over and over again, and you pointed out that many of the writers of today were not even born then, and so their source of information are what was written. If, for example, they could get sources like those who serve the Marcoses, what they thought of my father, cabinet ministers, all those, then they might have a better sense of what my father was.
what do you think of the Philippines today? I know I said last question, I take it back. Another Aquino is in power 27 years later. Well, he came into power 25 years.
Well, there's been many presidents since EDSA. How was that, 4 or 5 years?
Yes.
5 presidents. And, well, democracy is a slow process, apparently. And for the Filipinos, it seems like it's moving at a very slower pace. But apparently in this presidency, the one thing that seems to have ailed us is the corruption. And if we can just remove that, I think it's a step in the right direction.
Fantastic. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
spending
Maria.
time with us. We've been speaking with Irwin Ver, the son of former Armed Forces Chief Fabian Ver. Historic moment, 27 years ago in EDSA. It is one of the first times that the Ver family has spoken. Please watch, listen. It is history to us, memory to him. I'm Maria Ressa. Thank you for joining us.